Yo, what's up, guys? This is going to be the R5 video. So I've been running a decent amount of R5. It does fail from time to time. I think it's like about like a 1 or 2% fail rate. But that is because all of my units do not have any grinds. I don't have any fight runes. I am pretty much full free to play except for the Hwahi. I did farm a decent amount of Necro until level 50. With the level 50, I started being able to do this. I recorded a little bit later, but we'll go over that in a second. But if you check any of the runes, nothing is grinded. All of the artifacts are weak and legit zero grinds on this whatsoever. I just hit level 50 where I was able to do that. I did say no fight runes. However, there is this one achievement where you get, like from Summoner's Way, where you get a bunch of crafting material. I used all of that crafting material for fight runes on a low fight. So that would be in the case of a fight would be the one that you have over here. So low fight. And you get about like 400 material of this. And I didn't even use 400, but this is pretty much what you want to do, just to get a little bit of fight runes in, just to make it work. Because these fight runes definitely help on the Bale team. I did also have to get a Bale. I did go for the Fire Panda at first. But you do need a build to make this work. I thought at first, like, oh, it's probably very doable without the build. No, you do actually want to go for the build. So, build team is there. I do have a guide, which is the first link in the description to the perfect build team kind of thing out there. You just have to follow that because the build team has specific speeds and you just have to make sure that you meet that. Same for the Colleen having specific speeds and HP and defense. Very important that you have all of that. Also the Agora, that it's on enough speed to outspeed this thing to prevent some desyncing. But is everything fight? No, it's not even. Everything is like, sure, I do have double fight in here, but there's a lot of like things like this one, for example, couldn't make a double fight. This one, I was able to actually make double fight. And then this one also, once again, doesn't have any grind. So sure, some of these runes might look semi-okay-ish, but in the end, they're pretty weak. Same for the artifacts. So we have that team covered. As mentioned, that is by following this guide. And it might be a whole bunch of wall attacks. Like, what do you actually have to look at? Well, I would really recommend to go for the 4 front line. You actually make this one on level 40, and then you go for 14,000 HP and 850 defense. These two for the HP and efficiency, that kind of stuff, you don't have to care that much for. This thing, make it 6-star, because getting 6 stars nowadays is super easy. Just make it 6-star, and then go from there. And then don't think about like the shield sets, nothing like that. But you have to look at the speeds over here. So if your bill is between this speed, the other units have to be this speed. Don't look at the Shiner, just use a Colleen, it's easier. And if it's this speed, then go for this. If it's this speed, then go for this. Simple as that. But you do have to follow those specific speeds, otherwise it's not going to work. Plus your Colleen being at the exact HP of this, or as close as possible to, is pretty important. Might you ask, like, yeah, say, but that's like super annoying to do. How do you actually get that? Well, you can now use the advanced rune search thingy for it. And what I did was just simply saying, like, okay, we do, no, wait, we include the base stats, but we're gonna say, like, okay, from this to this. Keep in mind that this also does take in account, like, the amount of artifact stuff you have. So if you have HP artifacts, and your Colleen is max level, you're pretty much gonna overstack that already. Wait, how much did it need over here? 4k. So you just gotta put it like something along the lines of this. And then you put your artifacts to defense already at first. So if you already have HP artifacts, you're definitely going to be overstacking, because just adding this rune will already overstack the amount of HP you need if your Colleen is max level. But that is the easiest way to do it. But I highly recommend to just follow this guide. Go for this one, and I would say either put a shield. Well, you have to put like a level 1 unit in here. I think that's the high recommended version of it. I did put a Colleen in there in my case. Then talking about the other teams. The other teams are simply there just to survive and do as much damage as possible. There's a whole bunch of options that you already have ruined if you're following the same steps that I have. You already have the Crow, you already have the Rogue, you already have a Star, Fran as well. This thing might be something that not everyone has. It did also give the skill ups too, but I'll talk a bit about replacements in just a second, because if you pull some of the 4 stars, they might actually be better. The Siren you already have for Necro. This thing you didn't have yet. I will also talk about which units I do recommend on Will and I don't recommend on Will. We also have the Vert already ruined up, of course. Argon was something that I did have to make later, but it's highly recommended to go for an Argon. This thing is also highly recommended to go for, and the Lucas is something you do already have. So therefore, I can go for the leads of defense and I go for the lead of attack. Might you say is like, say, why not just go double in like a crit rate extra, that kind of stuff? Well, I simply don't have those, but I'll talk a little bit about replacements in just a second. So the ones that I do recommend to be on wheel, I have my friend on wheel, so in case that it does get like the spray, at least she can still do her skill. Cleansers in general, you do want to put on wheel, so Xiongfei is, in my opinion, one of the best R5 units in-game, because it has a good cleanse on the skill 2, low cooldown, and the skill 3 has slow, glancing, HP recovery, the disturbance thingy, whatever it's called, and attack power decrease. It pretty much has everything to deny the boss of like proper turn, so that's really good. On the other side, I don't really have a better cleanser than Economia. I actually put it on double wheel because it just happened to have the runes for it. And then besides that, I also do have you on wheel because your damage is pretty important. And do I also have the Chrome wheel? No, I don't have the Chrome wheel. I would recommend Chrome maybe on wheel as well, because the most damage from the side 2 units are the units that are scaling from multiple debuffs. So the multiple debuffs is the one over here, and the multiple debuffs is the one over here. You do want to do enough damage where your build doesn't use his skill 3 twice before the jump. You want him to use it once before the jump, once after the jump. And this is definitely to the point where your build's not gonna have HP this like whole boss. Like, no, that ain't gonna happen. So yeah, we have a bunch of debuffs already over there. Yeah, as you can see, that thing barely did any damage. If this happens before, that's still totally fine. As long as the Lauren didn't move before the jump, it is fine. That's kind of the kind of edge. Afterwards, it's still kind of fine because most of the time something on the side will armor break for the bill as well. Like as you can see, something already moved that armor break for the bill. As long as the bill just doesn't move a second time. That's the main important thing. So what do we have on the side teams? Well, sometimes the side teams die. As I mentioned, it's not the greatest out there. They're definitely not great. You ruined anything or something like that. But in the end, it works. It's not super fast or anything, but it just simply works. The moment that I put any grinds on any of those units, it's gonna be a lot better because you can simply add so much more stats from just simply getting grinds, simply getting a little bit better artifacts. Also just maxing out this tower because I am... Well, at the moment, I do have the fire one maxed. When I started doing R5, I didn't have it maxed. The more you have, the better it will run. But now I started working on any of these just to have a bit more damage from in there as well. Because this is good for the Argon, this is good for the Crow, and these are probably good for some units out there as well. So that's the main thing that you do want to aim for. I'll slowly go through the runes in just a second. But I'll first be talking about, like, okay, what are replacements? Because the Huai might be one that you don't have. Do you really need an attack buffer in there? Not really. It helps for the armor break. It helps for the attack bar boost. It helps for a bunch of stuff. So she's definitely a good unit if you have her in there. But there's a lot of replacements out there. So I made a sheet. Let me grab that one for you. Is this viewable where everything is kind of seen? Yep, except for, well, you don't really see the team 1, but I can place that over there. That's fine. So the team 1 is pretty much following that guide that I just mentioned. I would not recommend to go anything outside of that. Just go for this guide. It's as simple as it is. Maybe if you have a Lucifer, you place a Lucifer in here, and then you make it work from there. I did have a different video on that, but that you can kind of make it work from there. So units that you guarantee do have is like the Oak and Crow. I highly recommend to use those at least. You would have to go for at least a cleanser in any of the Team 2 and Team 3. So good cleanses are, for example, if you have her, that's a good option. If you have the Xiongfei, that's a good option. Konamiya is a good option, or anything else with a good AoE cleanse. That's what I would recommend for. I would also recommend any team to at least have an attack buff. So in my case, I went for this and this. I actually have them placed like this because I don't have you. So we have this. So attack buff, any team has to have an attack buff. So of course, Fren is an attack buff that everyone did build already. But I can also highly recommend this thing, which is actually one of those that I also do use as an attack buffer, because his skill 1 is also an attack break, and his skill 3 just does decent damage, skill 2 does decent damage, and skill 1 is also ignore defense. So pretty good overall unit over there. Does need to have a little bit of tanky stats, otherwise he just simply dies. But those are the 2 attack buffers that I would recommend. There's sure a bunch of other ones out there, like a Huahi or like anything else that attack buffs maybe does a little bit extra. There's plenty of units out there for that, but that's kind of what I would recommend. Then we also have to think about, like, okay, what kind of leads do we have to look at? Well, I went for a defense lead, and the other one I went on Lucas, because Lucas is bold regardless anyways. So Lucas is a 25 attack lead, which definitely does help out. You could, of course, also go for a Thessarian. So if you go for Thessarian, you can remove this one and maybe put like a Shihua kind of over there for the lead. But you can also put Shihua in any of the two teams for just extra damage, since most of the damage is kind of coming from fire as well. If you do have heavy hitters already and you pull those, such as a Brandia, you definitely do want to be taking in the Brandia. Brandia is by far one of the highest damage dealers. If you don't have that, you just go for an Argon, and you already have the Crow in there. So those are options for that. I did already also notice that Siren is actually a really good unit because the skill 3 has Armor Break, Team Up, skill 2 has the Heal Block, and skill 1 has Attack Break. And Attack Break and Glancing really help you out. That's actually a higher value than you expect. And that's also why the Xiongfei becomes that good, because the Xiongfei does all of this. They're like all of that, plus even the Heal Block is on the Xiongfei. So that's why Xiongfei is that great. Other option you could go for a Cleanser is also going for a level 1 Freya. But then you have to be a little bit more sure that you also kill pretty much in just 2 hits. But it does really help out where the whole team becomes full HP and you can focus a little bit more on damage. So that's definitely an option in there that you could go for as well. Other mentions for high damage is, of course, what's her name? Xiongfei? I think Xiongfei. Well, the light Kung Fu, or the water Kung Fu girl, she's really good for damage. Naomi is also mentioned for damage as well, because these 3 and also this one have more damage scaling for enemy debuffs. But I would say that she's a little bit worse because the moment you get Oblivion, it's a little bit bad. So I would not really recommend to use the Naomi, but it is an option out there. Might you say it's like, oh, for leads, can I not just go for a Veramos for HP lead? It is an option, but I noticed that Veramos skill 1 and skill 2 barely do anything for the whole raid, so it's not really that much of a recommendation. I didn't put it in here, but the Fire Brother has a resistance lead. So the let's say that this is the Sarion 41 resistance lead. It's not a bad of a lead as well. So that's definitely something that you could take into account that could help out a little bit as well. I do also think that defense lead in general is stronger than HP lead in this whole dungeon. So that might be something that you have to think of as well. So in my case for the team, just to finish off how I have the whole team set up. So I have this. I don't have you. I have you in there. And then we have this thing in there, and then this team has the I think the Astar is in here, or is the Rogue in the other team? Wait, let me check. Okay, it does fill right now. Like I said, it does have like a small fill chance, but that's definitely gonna go better the moment that I just have like, I put grinds in them, because nothing is grinded, and that's the main thing that I want to show. Free to play, not actually having to get fight runes, and just like getting the grinds in. Wait, where is my Astar unit? Wait, did I even put a star in? Where the hell is star at? Oh, star is at that team. Wait, so oh, Argon is in this team. That's how I did it. You are in there, you are in there, and then I have a Vert in here. So these are the things like how my team is looking like. Easiest replacements the moment you start upgrading things. I would say this goes over there or over there the moment you have it. This goes over there, and if you do that, I would also say that you have to put a better healer in here. Good option for heals, also something like this. So there's definitely the options for heals and that kind of things out there. Also, you could, of course, replace you over here. That is a good option. If you need an attack buff somewhere, this is a good option for an attack buff as well. But then you need attack buff in this one. But let's say that you then put the Fran over there. There's a lot of options out there for just the damage you can do. Of course, Vert is not really a must, but you can also just place this on like any of the damage dealers. That is definitely an option as well. So there's definitely a lot of options free-to-play wise how you could make it work. If I wouldn't have this one all together and I wanted to go full free-to-play, I would probably put this one over here, because this also has an attack break skill 1, so the team-ups from these two is really good. It does have a, I think it's a anti-crit or something. It does have a heal on the S2, and the S3 is also an armor break. So if I wanted to go full free-to-play, I would probably lock in this over here. But as mentioned, there's a lot of options you could go back and forth on, which do really help to get this team running. So in this case, yep, we did have one fill, but let me show you the runes that I have all together. So in the case of Fran, you do want to aim for tankiness. It does help out a lot if you go for defense-based artifacts, because our defense is pretty much non-existent. The HP is pretty decent to skill from, but it is pretty good to go for defense-based artifacts for that reason. Xiongfei, I just kind of put whatever. The main thing that I wanted to have was will. The other things didn't really matter too much to me. Just be tanky, just be fast, and just be will. That's the main thing. Let's actually put this on that you see the speed tuning on all of those as well. The Rogue is legit one of the preset sets that I also use for, for Necro. And it's just one of those sets you get all together for free, so nothing too special to that. Same for the Alstar, also a preset set that you get all together, so nothing special to that. It does really help out to have some crit rate leads in there, because you probably don't really get towards max crit rate by having the standard runes in there, but yeah, that's why also... Ooh, that's actually one unit that I missed. That is going to be the Hua. And if you have a Hua, wait. If you have a Hua, that's also a really good replacement for anything for the leads or anything like damage. Because she has the 19 overall lead. And the 19 overall lead makes it where it just becomes so much easier to get any of the proper damage in from any of the other units, because you will be guaranteed critting. It just helps out a whole bunch more. So yeah, then continuing on. This is actually a set that I did farm for, so some of the runes are somewhat decent, but most of these runes are not that crazy as well. Pro, I did already show. This thing, as mentioned, is just the fight runes that I crafted. This is also mainly the fight runes that I crafted in combination. This is one that I got from like a random event, I think. But then like from this is where I get the main speed kind of stuff from. And I don't use the left artifact because otherwise I'm just stacking too much on defense or attack. So if you put 2 defense artifacts in, you can definitely get away with just like no stats whatsoever, pretty much. We already had that. This one is also just whatever stats, get as low stats as possible, but the right speed. This thing just trying to be tanky, as you can see, crazy crap runes, but he's tanky enough to survive this, so that's definitely already fine. Lauren, same thing. I think you only need like 15 accuracy for this thing. Sure, if you want to use your Lauren elsewhere, you need a little bit higher. Would be nice if you do actually have a little bit more like this maxed out. Well, I would say especially the level 5 here for more harmful effect rates for getting more slows in. Besides, that doesn't really matter too much. And then the Bale is the main damage. And as you can see, I did farm a little bit of Rage Runes for it. I would recommend to farm Rage Runes on it. Don't use the Fatal Set. But as you can see, like, look at this rune. It's 12 speed. The other stats don't even freaking exist. Like this thing, barely freaking any stats. This thing is okay-ish for stats, I would say. This thing doesn't even have attack in there. This is actually decent. That's probably the best rune he has. And this one is also okay-ish. So... yeah, as you can see, some of these runes, like, it's 85. I'm using an 85 freaking rune. This artifact is actually pretty decent for a blue artifact. It's not the worst. This artifact is also not the worst with these 2 stats in there. But then again, they're pretty horrible. Then the Siren is also, I think this is a full free set. And the Konomiya, this is actually a set I had to farm for. Double Will's not really a must, but it does help out that you can get a cleanse at the right moment. Would preferably have the Konomiya faster than the whole team. So if the whole team gets like debuff, then the Konomiya can cleanse before, but I didn't have the runes for that. This third is I did need 1 crit rate rune for this, otherwise I couldn't really make it work. Don't mention like the double blade not being double blade. Argon actually does need a decent amount of damage. I didn't really have that on a crit damage set, so I just went for a crit rate set. Also, once again, insane runes right there, right? Absolutely freaking bonkers runes. Oh, this one is actually good. That's probably the only good rune he has. And then we have this thing, also pretty random weak-ass runes. Should actually be maxing out this one. Definitely will help out a little bit to just simply max out these, because the base stats on some of these units are just so horrible that it really does help out to max out a bunch of these runes. That part definitely does help out a little bit, but you have way too much mana early on anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. And this is also a set that I got for free, plus you have some innate crit anyway, so you're actually on 96 crit. And then once again, all of those runes are not grinded. I didn't get any proper fight runes. I didn't farm for any fight runes. The only fight runes that I got were from some kind of event. You got 400 of the crafting materials. I used that crafting material to get the fight runes pretty much for this team. I would recommend to get those fight runes. Without it, it's really bad. But can I say a farm for fight runes? No. So pretty much I say, like, I didn't get any fight runes. Those are just the ones you get for free. That's pretty much the simple fact to it. And from here, of course, the moment you start doing more R5, you get a bunch of grinds, you start jamming in attacks in like the stats over here and there, and like you get extra attack and you get flat attack, and you even get attack in here that's not even here in the first place. And you would definitely do a lot and a lot more damage. I do recommend to get the skill ups though, because the skill ups are pretty easy through events still, and you get a whole bunch of Devilmons early on. You don't need the Devilmons in the skill 1, but you do need the Devilmons in skill 3. I also did full Devilmon this thing. I once again do think that this thing is really good. My people think it's like, yeah, but that's kind of a waste of Devilmons. I do think early game in Siege Xiongfei might also be pretty good for you. So that's just a unit that I think is just Overall, pretty decent, but some people might think it is kind of a waste. But yeah, that's pretty much just the whole R5 team. As mentioned, there's a lot of options that you could go for. Just switching out units. Let's say you pull the Brandia. Let's say you don't have a Hwahi. Let's say there's a whole bunch of options out there for like a Hwa or double twins. I didn't even mention the twins. Like if you go for the twins, they add a lot more damage. It is definitely nice to have units on the side that brand. So in my case, I do have 3 branding units. I have the Argon that brands, I have the Lucas that brands, and I have the Crow that brands. So those 3 branders in there definitely will add in a lot of damage, which is recommended to actually go for. Okay, in this case, we actually had this thing didn't die a second time, which is kind of interesting. You don't have that much stats altogether, but sure. But that's also kind of the thing. Like, it's not super strict. It's like, oh, you have to kill it in 2 waves. As long as the Bale doesn't move a second time before the jump, you're kind of good to go. You're kind of golden. You're kind of fine. So what is my goal after this for the account altogether? What am I going to do after? I think I'm going to be farming a bit of R5, then go back to Necro, stay in Necro for a decent long time, then go into R5 for a decent long time, and then actually switch to the other 2 dungeons. I think that's going to be my game plan for farming, because that way I can build up a good amount of will and rage sets. I don't waste any grinds on runes that are kind of like, yeah, do I really want to put grinds on? Because I actually do wait for a little bit longer to actually start farming heavy R5. We do have the R5 update coming soon, but for new accounts, I would honestly say that I would just go for, just go for simply no farming the norm R5, because you need all grind, so it doesn't really alter much. Anyways, that how. So yeah, that's going to be an update for me, and I do also have a little bit of scrolls, so let's actually check out. We got some vampire skill ups right there. Gonna be using those on the Igar rather than on the Argon, or on the Vert. But it does help out a little bit with these. Amazon, we don't need those. Battle Mammoth already have. Let's see if we can get some more scrolls rolling in over here. Nope. Nope. You might ask whether you get all of these scrolls, because it's a decent amount of scrolls. You get all of those through achievements and whatnot. That's just the main thing. There's so many achievements going on right now where you get like a little bit of scrolls here, a little bit of scrolls there, a little bit of everything everywhere, and that just helps you out. So far, no net 5 on this. The last net 5 that I pulled on it was Juno, which I did also use for the lead in the first iteration of the R5 team. But then I was like, nah, let's make it a little bit more free to play. Plus, Juno by itself doesn't really do too much for the, just the dungeon itself. Okay, not bad for Siege later on. Rocking in those Forcer, also not bad for Siege later on. Come on, give me a net 5. Also not bad. Wait, we're taking up all of the Siege net 4s right there. Trevor might use that as a skill up for the Lucas. Kung Fu Girl, good for R5 if I want to place it in there. I do already have my R5 team complete, but if I want to make it better, then Xiongfei is definitely a, or Xiongli, whatever her name is. It's definitely better. Okay, R5 rate on this account, definitely not that great. But yep, that's pretty much all, or R5 rate, net 5 rate. I think I'm at like, I don't know how many scrolls already, and I got like 3 net 5s. Kind of bad. But then again, as you can see, you don't really need net 5s to make this work. You could make it work with like the double twins as well. That was my first idea of going in for it, but then I was like, I can do it more free play. I still kept in the Hwahi because I think Hwahi is just really good with glancing on the skill 1, armor break over here, attack buff over there, attack buff over there. It's just one of those units, super all-round, and probably one of those things that you do want to use if you do have it. But as mentioned, there's a lot of ways you could actually replace it for other free-to-play units. And as you can see, we're just farming. I think we're averaging like 45-ish seconds, which is definitely not bad. Sure, it's not a 22-second team, but hey, we don't have any grinds, we don't have any fight runes, and we are pretty much full free-to-play. So very easy right there. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.